Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is located in the St. Louis metro community of Arnold, Missouri, and is the world's first single barrel only liquor store. This business is owned and operated by Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot. Head over to abvbarrelshop.com to sign up for their email and text distribution list. That way you'll know what they have in stock, what classes are coming up, and what barrel picks they have in the works. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we pay tribute to our friend and frequent guest, Danny Kinnaird, who passed away suddenly September 3rd, 2022. My name is McNew. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, along with our special guests, Miss Becca Sue and Kathy Poole.
Hey gang, how you doing?
Hey.
How's everybody? Yeah, very sad news, and I know that for some of the audience, this is news to them. Danny, and we're talking about Danny Kinnaird, the guy who is on our shows frequently. A lot of great stories and a lot of moments. I used him on a lot of the bumpers and things like that, because he'd always say funny things. He did pass away suddenly, and, I know what his family's dealing with. A heart attack, one of those situations where you're just there and then you're gone. Dealt with that with my dad. I know it's a tough thing, and I know it'll be a tough thing for many years to come, but we wanted to do kind of a memorial show for Danny. Of course, we record these. This is a Friday night. We recorded a segment of 5 shows, just kind of out of mourning, if nothing else. We're not going to do our regular show with the cork pop and things like that for these 5 shows. Now, are we going to never do it again? No, because who'd want us to do this kind of stuff again? To drink and have fun on the shows? Danny. So we're going to try to have fun on all the shows we're doing. We've got a special week lined out here. This kicks off the special week. We've got 7 shows, all dedicated to Danny. This one is kind of a tribute show. Then we've got, and I'll talk about him at the end of the thing here, but we've got some of his best of work. And then we've got a special one on Sunday where I'm retiring all those bumpers I talked about. So you'll get to hear those at least one last time and hear the background story on them too. So kind of a cool thing. But, and then we'll record this group will record 4 more shows tonight. Those are the ones, no cork pops. So you'll hear those following that special week with Danny. Then after that, we'll try to get back into the groove and get on with things. It's tough. I mean, this is our first time recording since Danny passed away. And, it just feels different. It's just sad because there's this big hole in for all of us that is missing, because Danny was such this larger than life character in our world, wasn't he?
He was.
I mean, yeah. So he was definitely a fun guy, funny to be around. We're going to share some of those stories. We want to focus on the funny stuff. I don't think we want to wallow in sorrow on the show. So we're going to have some fun after the break where we talk about some of these great stories and things that Danny did, and just have a few laughs, hopefully, and should be good. And because he was our friend, and that's the greatest gift that bourbon gives us is the friendship. And Danny's wife, Misty, has been in touch. One of his children has been in touch with me as well, wanting some of the shows on a flash drive so she can listen to them and just have them. So I'm doing that. But yeah, it's been great to hear the impact of how important it was in his life, the ABV Network, and being on the shows, and how much he loved it, and and it gave him a little bit of celebrity status, like with his buddy Zach at work. And hopefully Zach's listening to this tribute show. So he talked about Zach a lot and how he'd laugh at Danny and his shenanigans on the show and stuff like that. So that's the kind of stuff that we want to remember, all those good times, and knowing that this contributed a lot to his enjoyment. And, one of the things that got to me big time And I had a real rough moment when his obituary came out. And in the obituary, it said member of the ABV network. And whew.
Yeah,
I could have sworn that you had wrote that obituary, Steve. When I read it, I was like, I don't know who wrote it, but it was so good.
It was good.
And it just like, I read that in there and I was like, I read it off to Royce and I was like, oh, okay, now I'm going to cry for sure.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, here's the thing. I never would have ever met Danny.
Right.
If it wasn't for Bourbon.
There's right.
No way. When would any of us have ever even known Danny if it wasn't for Bourbon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he was just like Danny was something else. Like, you don't forget about Danny.
Right. Yeah, he's one of a kind. I mean, you know, that's what I loved about him and being on the shows. And one of the shows that we play this week is Danny's first show he was ever on. And the funny thing was, Danny was very serious. It was when I was out doing an event in a store, in a liquor store, because I was doing some working with one of the local distributors, pouring samples of a brand out there. And Danny came there, of course, because he's a friend and a fan. But I put him on the show, and this is the first time he ever appered. And it's funny to hear him all serious and that, because he was never serious again. That was the only time Danny was ever serious on one of our shows.
One and only time.
That needs to go to like the National Archives or something.
Yeah, one and done.
I think that the one thing that the Bourbon listeners don't really know about with Danny too was that like they got like, you know, Freddie Mills' version of Danny, right?
Right.
They got like the funny, like drunk, crazy Danny, and like something that I don't know how they would know this, but like Danny was just like such an actual like nice. Like, he's done so many things for you, Steve.
Right.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, Danny would give you the shirt off his back. Like, you were telling me a story just last week about him driving an hour to fix your mom's lawnmower. Yeah. And then just saying, oh, it's $15 for you to fix it. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, I mean, no one would know that listening to the shows of just like how good of a guy actually, like Danny actually was.
Yeah.
They just knew him
you
as, like,
think
this goofy,
he's
guy.
out of control in his whole life, but he wasn't. He was a good family man.
Super hard.
Yeah.
He was a hard worker. Like, I mean, Danny worked for the city. He moved snow. He did all these things. He was a plumber. Like, Danny was a hard working guy.
Right.
He wasn't just some guy that drank on shows.
Right.
And
exactly.
He was just a genuinely good-hearted individual that would do anything for you if you asked him to do it. And I just like, that is something that I think is a good thing that we need to get across to people, that it's not just, you know, this
caricature of a person that you heard on the shows. That's not who Danny was. You know, he was a very nice man. Like I said, the thing with my mom blew me away, because I told him, I knew he worked on lawnmowers because he was good at that kind of stuff. And I asked him, because my mom was having some problems, and she was paying this guy $100 to come go get her lawnmower from her house and fix it each year. And I said, let Danny take a look at this thing, because she was having some problems with it. I said, Danny, next time you're around, well, he shows up, he drives right down to like it's an hour, and this is when gas prices were like almost $5 a gallon, and it's like, Danny, what are you doing? He fixed it, and then had to take it home where he had all those extra parts and all that, fixes it, and then brings it back, and he tells my mom it's like $15. I'm like, come on. My mom was like, no way, I'm paying you more than that. So yeah, she says, I'll pay you what the other guy was charging me, because you actually did something for me here. So
yeah. And also, Steve, he's always going to be part of the Barrel Shop. He did your guys' plumbing, right?
He did, yeah. So yeah. I mean, there's a couple cool things like that, And hey, it's a good idea, McNew. Thank you for that. Because yes, he took care of the plumbing there. He fixed all that for us, brought us up to code. Jim did one thing and he screwed it up. We failed our inspection on that. So the guy passed us because he's like, just fix this one thing. It's like one thing. That's the only thing Jim did. Jim did one thing and he screwed it up. Danny did everything else in the store and it was fine. But Jim did one thing and screwed. So that was funny. Danny actually loved that story. It was like,
only that story when we were there.
Yeah,
it was like weekend.
Yeah, it's like, don't use an amateur. So yeah, that was funny. But we started the club too. We started the Barrel Shop Syndicate, and Danny's part of that. And ultimately we refunded his widow his money, but we retired that number. He was number 13. We retired that. That's his number forever. We're going to get some orange tissue paper because he loved University of Texas. We're going to put that in the glass, just showing that number's been retired, because there's a rack with everybody's glasses in there, which is kind of cool. And then the other thing we're doing, because he was a collector. He liked to go out to antique malls and flea markets and that type of stuff. And he'd look for old bourbon stuff. Well, he had there's only so much budget he had, but he knew that we were getting that kind of stuff for the shop. So he would always text me and say, hey, do you want this? Do you want this? And, a lot of things I would say yes to. So we've got a bunch of that stuff in the back hallway at the shop, and we're going to call it Kinnaird Hall. And we're going to get a plaque up there with him on there. And I think we're going to get one of those Texas hats that he wore all the time. So, probably not his favorite one, but he had a bunch of them. So. And that's what I said. I said, Misty, we can get, a brand new Texas hat. And I can go online and buy it. But to me, it would mean something more if I could have one, a game worn one, one that he actually wore that was his. So Misty thought that should be possible. So hopefully we'll get that. And we're going to put that like on the corner of the plaque, one of those Texas hats. So yeah, it's cool stuff. Cool stuff. So, see a lot of tears going on here. It's just.
But you do have 3 girls on this show. What were you thinking?
We were supposed to have one male, but he's asleep.
Yeah. I think that's a tribute in its own way. Royce drank all day and then he passed out. It feels oddly appropriate.
He did a tribute.
Royce is Freddie Milking it today.
You guys you might hear Royce snoring in the background, which is exactly what we would want.
Right, exactly. On the show, yes.
Because Royce is sitting across from me on the couch,
so
snoring very loudly.
What we're going to do next, we're going to do something different. Again, we're not, though we are going to drink tonight because we're going to do a cheers to Danny, but we're going to kick this thing off in a different way. Not the usual cork pop, the game that we always play. We're going to do a 21 cork pop salute. I will go first, and then Becca, and then McNew, and then Kathy. We'll keep going round robin until we get to 21. And there's no announcement. It's just going to be as hopefully as good as we can, as smooth as we can. Pop, 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 21. So that's the goal here. So on that note, I will begin this thing again. Becca, you're next, then McNew, then Kathy, and we'll go all the way around. 21 cork pop salute. This is the first time we've ever done this, and hopefully we don't have to do this again. This is something special, and Danny means a lot to us, and let's see what we got. Here we go, gang.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Ooh.
That was way more stressful, and I should have
was stressful.
I should have had more bottles that had the big wide cork on them to hold on to, because I had some Wild Turkey 101 and some Basil Hayden that have those smaller corks you can't grab.
No, right. The Knob Creek ones are bad too. I was
trying to grab bottles that Danny
Knob
would
Creek's
like.
tough. Booker's would have been tough if you had that. Yeah. There were some good ones in there though. Mixed in there were some really good ones. So yeah, that was kind of funny.
It was hard to know who went because I had to look at my bottle. Is it my turn?
Everybody, do you have a glass poured?
Yeah.
So with that,
let me grab my glass.
So I thought Wild Turkey 101 was appropriate because that's definitely.
Yeah,
I've
got 291.
I have a couple of those, and
Wild Turkey.
I have a couple of those in the mix too.
So we got all of Danny's favorites here: Wild Turkey and Distillery 291. So I think that's so appropriate. So there you go.
Cheers.
Here's to Danny. Cheers to Danny. All right, take a quick break, and then when we come back, it's going to turn the show a little bit because we're going to have some fun. We're going to tell some funny Danny stories, and talk about our good times with him. We'll do that in just a few. Let's talk about the people who make these shows happen. First up is the ABV Barrel Shop. It is the most unique shopping experience in the world of bourbon, as the ABV Barrel Shop only sells single barrels. Owners Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot select. With over 100 distilleries on board to sell us barrels, we are home to the most unique and diverse barrel pick selections in the bourbon world. By signing up for our email, you will always know what we have in stock. In addition to the single barrels, we'll have a gift shop featuring ABV Barrel Shop as well as ABV Network merchandise. We are partnering with vendors like Art Eatables and Old Man Bay Signs to bring you unique items you can't find anywhere else. We will also have a 24-seat classroom where we are offering educational and fun classes like Breakfast and Bourbon, a series where we pair donuts and bourbon, customer barrel picks, and opportunities to learn from master distillers and other bourbon dignitaries. Best of all, we feature a tasting bar where you can try before you buy. All of this is located in the St. Louis metro community of Arnold, Missouri. If you are in the St. Louis area, please stop by to say hi. If you're traveling in from outside the area, please take advantage of our hotel rates with the Drury Inn and Pear Tree Inn, less than a mile from our shop. This can be done via the links in our Visit St. Louis section on our website. Head over to abvbarrelshop.com to plan your trip. The ABV Barrel Shop. It's where single barrels live. Hi, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network. We're sponsored by the Stave and Thief Society. This is where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge a bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification program available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Okay, let's talk about the Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent trips to Kentucky. Today, he is amongst the leaders of young distillers leaving their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery yields insight on their unique family history, why their products are special, and gives you the opportunity to taste their whiskey, moonshine, and creams. Check them out at NeelyFamilyDistillery.com or visit them in Sparta, Kentucky.
All right, I'm Neil.
And I'm Melanie.
Together we're the Robinsons, and you're listening to the Bourbon Daily.
Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we are remembering our friend Danny Kinnaird.
Yes, we are. So the first thing I want to throw out there, because Becca's on the show, for some reason, Danny and Becca had this weird relationship where he liked aggravating Becca because he could get her to go from, being just perfectly fine, say her aggravation level's sitting at a 0 or a 1, whatever her normal mode function is.
My normal aggravation's around a 20.
Well, he can get you to 100 like that. And he loved it. I don't know why he liked when you would yell at him.
Danny loved me yelling at him.
He'd get you going, right?
And I loved yelling at Danny. Mm-hmm. If there's one thing I love to do, it's yell at people, especially when people want me to yell at them. I'm going to yell. Especially if I know that you're going to take it as a good sport, which Danny was literally always the best sport about it. Mm-hmm. And he just loved it when I would yell at him. Yeah. And so, I'm going to yell at Danny all the time. Yeah. Well, and every show, I think I just yelled at Danny. I told him I'm not going to make him a fucking peach cobbler. I'm not doing it. I mean, I've yelled at Danny a lot. Right. And to me, just being who I am and how I was raised, that was I don't just do that to people. I don't yell at people like that and just mean to people who I don't like. If I'm super crazy nice to you,
it's a bad sign.
There's a teetering sign there where I maybe really do actually genuinely really love you, or I do not like you at all. But I don't generally yell at people that I hate. I will yell at people that I know are the best sport and will take it.
And there's different ways of yelling at people, Becca. Because I've been on the end when you actually been yelling, angry yelling.
But that's a difference. When I'm
you were yelling at Danny, but it was in fun.
Yes, it was always fun, and I always knew that he was going to take it as a good sport. Right. And there was one time where I was yelling at him, and we got off the show, and I think the next day, Steve, I called you, and I was like, "Oh no, did I actually make Danny mad?" And I couldn't tell.
Never.
And I was actually genuinely I was worried about it because I don't want Danny to be. I didn't want him to be mad at me. I was because I was doing it as something funny. Right. And so there was only one time that I did it where I was like, did I cross the line of not being funny anymore into me being just a big asshole, which I can very, very easily do often. Right. But clearly Danny was still fine with me, and thank God for that, because he was fine with my yelling and my terrible jokes.
I've got a couple of funny Danny stories. I've got a million of them, but a couple weird ones that I don't think have ever been shared on the show before. So because we've rehashed a lot of funny Danny stories, but here's two just real quick ones. And this first one happened, I don't know, maybe a month ago or something like that. We're in there, and Jim was talking about the fact that he's an Eagle Scout, and Danny was in there. He's like, "Well, I'm an Eagle Scout too." And we looked at each other. We said, "Danny's an Eagle Scout."
Of course, that surprises you.
It does not surprise me at all.
Me neither.
And what surprises me is that Jim's a fucking Eagle Scout. Danny, absolutely.
I picture Danny also selling at 4-H.
Exactly.
At 4-H,
or like
maybe.
what was it, FFA with the blue jackets, maybe too. Can see that.
All of that stuff. So,
so
we asked Misty if he actually was an Eagle Scout, and she's like, "Well, that was before I knew him. So I don't know. I think he had said he was one. So he goes to his grave. He's an Eagle Scout. As far in my mind, whether it happened or not at this point, he's an Eagle Scout. So yeah. So that's
so a month ago. What happened? He came in and just razzed.
Well, Jim, for some reason, was talking about being an Eagle Scout. So, what led to that. So, yeah.
Can we discuss the night of podcasting where Danny was not on the shows? And we were with Lenny Eckstein.
Yeah.
And we were doing the Danny Kinnaird reading the text messages and where Freddie Mills came from. And the funniest thing about it was that Lenny thought that they were messages, I think, from me to you.
Right.
And so Lenny was reading them as though I was saying them, or McNew, or who, I'm not sure.
He didn't know who Danny was at that time.
I think he thought I had done them or someone else had done them. And so Lenny had no idea what was going on. And so he's explaining these in the gist of them being from like me or whoever he thought it was from, but they were from Danny, and he had no idea. And that's where Freddie Mills came from. And they were the funniest. Like the fact that Lenny had completely screwed up what this was actually about, and he like wrote out these full interpretations of what he thought that this person was saying from someone else's standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
not from a Danny standpoint. And that was those shows. Well, then it would make even less sense. It was so funny because Lenny's thinking like it was me or whoever he thought it was texting Steve these things. So he's like, well, then clearly like Becca would have meant this, and it was like. I didn't write this, Lenny. This is from Danny. And he's like, well, I don't know who Danny is. And it was like,
right.
Yeah.
This is Danny. He was like talking about like
those
an
all
ATM.
Those all came from Danny drunken texts that he quit sending to me after that.
That Freddie Mills became a whole person of their own. That was a whole conscious person that was just Danny drunk. And we're like, Freddie Mills became a character almost.
Yeah. Exactly. He'd go into
that. He named himself that.
Well, it came from the text show.
Though.
Yeah.
So it was an accident in those texts.
And I believe the person who actually should get credit for it, we can go back and listen to the show. I think it was Turner that actually actually came up with, because there's one text where he's like, as Freddie Mills always says, and we're like, is that it? Because there's a lot of Freds in bourbon. There's Fred No, Freddie No. Yeah. There's Fred Minnick. There's Fred Mosenter. There's Freddie Johnson. And I was like, maybe it's one of those. And then Turner goes, no, I think it's his alter ego. I think he's talking about himself. And that was it. Then it was.
Absolute life of its own. Freddie Mills.
Oh my God.
Danny's
guess
alter
what?
ego.
I hope that we have plenty of those Freddie Mills approved stickers for Key West this coming year.
Right.
I've got to go even more.
Yeah.
Because that's hilarious. And then Danny got banned from George Rose's lifestyle page.
First of all, it's funny every time you hear it. George Rose has a lifestyle page. George Rose, the famous moonshiner, has a moonshine page, and he has a lifestyle page. And Danny asked a moonshine question on the lifestyle.
He was wasted. Yeah. He was like wasted and like writing like the weirdest shit.
It was gold. What he wrote was great. It was like it made no sense. It was, and he offended George Rose, the guy who says anything.
Yeah, and he's a hard guy to offend, really. But
oh yeah.
I have a whole dragon photo that he drew me, a dragon with boobs. I think he's a hard guy to offend.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Danny got to him. Danny offended him. It was. Yeah.
Banned.
That was hard
Banned
to
for
believe.
life on there.
Banned.
Yeah.
And then how about the event we had? We did 2 different ABV network events down at the distillery.
The one where he fell off the chair and then he blamed the chair. It's faulty manufacturing.
We threw that chair away too.
He's sleeping in the class. And then he falls off and he blames the chair. He said the chair was faulty.
If it wasn't for this chair here, it's a faulty chair. So, I'm so I'll pay for it, but it's not my fault.
Oh, really? Really, Danny? It's not the fact that you've had access to an entire barrel the entire day? That has nothing to do with it? Okay. Yeah, I bet it's the chair's fault for sure.
It's the chair.
But then the other event we had here was literally Danny's like dream event, which was a moonshine event that we had.
Yep.
And Danny got to help out with everything. And I think that was like, I mean, like
that was a highlight for him
of everyone together. That was like, I think probably one of his.
That's like his Christmas.
It was literally. It was like, he was a kid at
like
Christmas.
10 Christmases for him.
Yeah.
All once.
Danny was the happiest guy ever.
It's true.
And I said to Royce at one point, I said, make these guys do the work. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll make them. I said, because that's what they want to do. And Danny just jumped in there and was like hooking up hoses and was like,
yeah, he wanted to do everything.
Excited.
Yeah. So that's funny. And of course, everybody's heard the popcorn story at this point, and this whole thing of the recipe that he makes. It's as he comes on the show, he makes that show's going to be played this week, so you'll hear it if you haven't heard it before. But yeah, so and it's all straight up. I mean, he just talks about this recipe that he makes this popcorn, and it turns out none of it's true, and he doesn't even like butter, which the part of it's butter, and then Nutella, and then so when all this all comes about, nothing is thought about it on the show. No one's like, oh, he's making this up. No one said that at all. It wasn't even that way. But when we see him at the ABV Barrel Shop the next day, and I talk about how it sounded gross because it was really messy and he didn't know anything about it, and then he's like, and we haven't had Nutella in months, and his wife says, Danny, we haven't had it since the kids were little. His youngest daughter is 21, so he said a couple months. It was like 15 years since they've had it.
Yeah. And I was sold on this recipe. I even had to try it myself because I thought it was so real. I was like, that sounds fucking great.
Did you like it, McNew?
I did, but not in his fashion. It was good the way I made it. But
yeah.
God.
Yeah. We're doing his services, and of course, as this comes out, it'll be tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow that his service will be, and then it's going to be a little event at the ABV Barrel Shop, and we keep saying we should make that popcorn, but then I'm like, that's going to be everywhere in the shop.
Yeah.
Butter and Nutella all over your hands.
And butter for months.
Wasn't there like a drop cloth involved?
There was a drop cloth on the couch when he had it. Yeah. So I love the idea, but I don't think it's a good one. That butter will get on the floor, people will be slipping and stuff.
That's a liability, Steve. You don't want that.
we don't need that.
No.
We don't need that.
Don't need broken legs.
Yeah. But there you go. I mean, that's kind of exactly what we want to do. Just share some funny Danny stories and talk about the real man, not, the caricature on here. And, there's more to Danny than that. We've got a great week worth of shows. So tomorrow it's going to be Danny's bourbon journey. So we were doing these shows for a while, my bourbon journey. So you get to hear Danny talk about how he got into bourbon, all those type of things. That should be a fun one. Wednesday's going to be Danny's first show. That one that I talked about where you'll get to hear serious Danny. That'll be good. Thursday's the popcorn recipe. So you'll get to hear how it all came about and all that stuff. Friday, Danny leads Steve to a meltdown. I almost felt I had to have that one in there when it was like the high end bourbons, and I kept asking, and Danny's like, "Well, I haven't tried that one. It's a bracket challenge."
Steve Wilson.
Well, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Just pick a fucking one. Just pick one.
Just pick one.
Just pick one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then
say anything.
Yep. And then on Saturday we've got one of the yelling shows where it's about the cobbler, where Danny insists there's a northern cobbler and there's a southern cobbler, and Becca only knows about the northern cobbler, and she's like, "No, my family makes it with the bottom on it." So it's the whole thing. And then Danny's like, "Well, then prove it. Make it for me."
I told him I'm not making him a fucking cobbler.
Yeah, you're yelling at him, so it's fun.
You should try and find that text message one of that when we discovered Freddie Mills.
Yes. Yeah. I do need to do that one too.
I don't
Maybe
know where that one's at. I have no idea what show number that would be. I don't remember how long ago that was, but
I think it's called text, so I think I can search it. If in the description there's a word, so I think that one I can actually look up. If I can find that one, I'll throw that as a bonus one on Monday. So Sunday it's already set. That's when I retire the bumpers, and I will do a bonus one on Monday if in fact that I can find that one about the text, because that was funny too.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
That is
So
such a funny
I
show.
will do
just,
that
in general.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
that
gonna
was
miss the bumpers.
Me too. It's a tough thing as an artist myself. There's always question of when you do something, do you want it to keep going after you're gone? And I don't know the answer to that. Now, Danny's kids and family and maybe Misty, if they listen to it, they're like, no, we still want him to be involved in the show. The bumpers is a cool way where you can stay. And if they would ask me to do it, I'd bring them back. But if not, in lieu of that, I don't think I should just keep playing Danny's voice on the shows without his family saying, yeah, let's do it. So I think for now, retirement, and they may come back though. So that's the bottom line. So we'll see. They're funny. You'll hear the background of all of them, what we went into. Some of them were recorded specifically for bumpers. Other ones were just lifted from shows, just funny moments that I liked and loved to hear again and again. So there you go. That's what we've got going on this week. A lot of great shows, and I think it's a great way to remember Danny, some of his greatest moments from the show. So good stuff. All right. Well, we'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people can find us. Kathy, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
I am on Instagram, KK Cask Strength.
All right, Miss Becca Sue.
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Miss Becca Sue, 1K, no C's.
McNew.
I'm on Instagram at McNew ABV.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website, abvnetwork.com. Check it out because everything that we do is out there. Previous shows, blogs, so much more, abvnetwork.com. McNew, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I would like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review that includes comments that helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. And if you like what we're doing, we ask that you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ABV Network.
All right, great job today, gang. For our audience, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow as the celebration of Danny continues. Take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Cheers.
Peace. Love you, Danny. Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com. Last but not least is the ABV Barrel Shop. While we don't get to play in the allocated bourbon game because we aren't selling the other products you have to do to get those, we do have access via our friendships in the bourbon industry to some really cool stuff. Have you ever seen your favorite craft distiller selling some really cool limited offerings only in their gift shop? I'm talking things like the Hazmat offering Distillery 291 did for their 10th anniversary, or Neely Family Distillery's Papaw's birthday barrel. They don't have enough of it to send it out to distributors, so they only sell it via their gift shop. Well, companies like Distillery 291 and Neely Family Distillery have agreed to sell us 2 or 3 cases of these offerings moving forward, meaning our store will have the access to some of the rarest whiskeys in the world. Way more difficult to come by than the allocated bourbon offerings with a national release. Yes, they will be extremely tough to come by, But if you're a customer of our store, you'll have a chance to get them. Get signed up for our email or text list over at abvbarrelshop.com so you don't miss out.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.